What is Hamas? A simple guide to the armed Palestinian group. The group's audacious Saturday attack on Israel has triggered a bloody bombing campaign in the Gaza Strip. October 8th, 2023. Israel and the armed Palestinian group Hamas are locked in an escalating conflict that has left almost 1,000 people dead in a little more than a day. On Saturday, Hamas launched an unprecedented attack on Israel, blowing up parts of the country's highly fortified separation fence and sending fighters into Israeli communities along the Gaza frontier. The move prompted the government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to warn of a long and difficult war. Israeli jets are bombing the Gaza Strip, leveling high-rises in civilian neighborhoods. But what is Hamas, the group at the center of it all? Here is what to know. What is the group Hamas? Hamas stands for the Islamic Resistance Movement and in Arabic means zeal. The group politically controls the Gaza Strip, a territory of about 365 square kilometers, or 141 square miles, that is home to more than 2 million people but is blockaded by Israel. Hamas has been in power in the Gaza Strip since 2007 after a brief war against Fatah forces loyal to President Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinian Authority and Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO. When was Hamas formed and was its aim? The Hamas movement was founded in Gaza in 1987 by an imam, Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, and his aide Abdul Aziz al-Ansari. No, his name is Abdul Aziz al-Rentisi. No, his name is Abdul Aziz al-Rentisi. Shortly after the start of the First Intifada, an uprising against Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories. The movement started as an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and created a military wing, the Izz al-Din al-Qassam Brigades, to pursue an armed struggle against Israel with the aim of liberating historic Palestine. It also offered social welfare programs to Palestinian victims of the Israeli occupation. What are the Palestinian group's principles? Unlike the PLO, Hamas does not recognize Israel's statehood, but accepts a Palestinian state on 1967 borders. Quote, "We shall not waive an inch of the Palestinian home soil, no matter what the recent pressures are, and no matter how long the occupation," Khaled Mashal, the leader in exile of the Palestinian group, said in 2017. Hamas violently opposes the Oslo peace accords negotiated by Israel and the PLO in the mid-1990s. It is formally committed to establishing a Palestinian state within its own borders. It has pursued the same through attacks on Israeli soldiers, settlers, and civilians both in the occupied Palestinian territories and in Israel. The group as whole, or in some instances its military wing, is designated as a terrorist organization by Israel, the United States, European Union, Canada, Egypt, and Japan. Who are its allies and supporters? Hamas is part of a regional alliance that also includes Iran, Syria, and the group Hezbollah in Lebanon, which opposes U.S. policies toward the Middle East and Israel. Hamas and Islamic Jihad, the second largest armed group in the region, are often united against Israel and are the most important members of the Joint Operations Room that coordinates military activity among the various armed groups in Gaza. The relationship between the two groups has been tense when Hamas has exerted pressure on Islamic Jihad to stop attacks against Israel. What prompted Saturday's attack on Israel? Hamas spokesperson Khaled, we the best terrorist organization. we the best terrorist, another one. Hamas spokesperson Khaled Kadomi told Al Jazeera that the group carried out its military operation in response to atrocities that Palestinians have faced over decades. Quote, "We want the international community to stop atrocities in Gaza against Palestinian people. Our holy sites like Al-Aqsa Mosque, all these things are the reason behind starting this battle," he said. Hamas also called on other groups to join the fight, saying Saturday's attacks were just the beginning. Is Hamas targeting civilians? Osama Hamdan, senior spokesperson for Hamas, told Al Jazeera that the group was not attacking civilians, even though the group's own videos have shown its fighters taking elderly Israelis hostage during the fighting on Saturday. Rights groups such as Amnesty International have also pointed out that Israeli civilians had been killed by Hamas. But Hamdan insisted that the group was attacking only settlers living in illegal settlements whom he described as legitimate targets. "You have to differentiate between settlers and civilians. Settlers attacked Palestinians," Hamdan said. Asked whether civilians in southern Israel were also considered settlers, Hamdan said, "Everyone knows there are settlements there. We are not targeting civilians on purpose. We have declared settlers are part of the occupation and part of the armed Israeli force. They are not civilians," he added. How was the group able to carry out the attack? Hamas said its fighters took several Israelis captives in the enclave, releasing videos of fighters dragging bloodied soldiers. It said senior Israeli military officers were among the captives. The videos could not immediately be verified, but matched geographic features of the area. Fears that Israelis have been kidnapped evoked memories of the 2006 capture of soldier Gilad Shalit, probably Jean's brother, Gilad Shalit, whom Hamas linked fighters seized in a cross-border raid. Hamas held Shalit for 5 years until he was exchanged for more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. Hamas also sent paragliders flying into Israel, the Israeli military said. The attack recalled a famous assault in the 1980s when Palestinian fighters crossed from Lebanon into northern Israel on hang gliders and killed 6 Israeli soldiers. And that was from Al Jazeera. No author. It says source Al Jazeera news agencies. Okay, well, let's go back. What's going on here? Wait, here we go. The October 1973 war, how it led to the first Arab recognition of Israel. The October 1973 Arab-Israeli War lasted for barely 3 weeks, but it shook the world economy and culminated in the Camp David Accords that saw Egypt become the first Arab country to establish diplomatic ties with Israel. The war, known to Israelis as Yom Kippur and to Arabs as the October War, I don't think the war itself is known as Yom Kippur. It might be the Yom Kippur War, but I think, yeah, Yom Kippur existed before this war. I don't think they're calling the war itself Yom Kippur. The war, known to Israelis as Yom Kippur and to Arabs as the October War, started when Egypt and Syria launched a 2-front attack on Israel to regain their territories lost in the 1967 Six-Day War, when Israel captured the Sinai Peninsula and Egypt and Syria's Golan Heights. Israel also seized large parts of historic Palestine, including the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip in 1967. The defeat of Arabs and Palestinians is known as the Naksa, meaning setback or defeat. Egypt regained control of Sinai, but Syria's Golan Heights remained occupied by Israel. The aftermath of the war contributed to the shifting political dynamics between Arab nations and the United States. Here are some of the key events that took place in the wake of the war. The 1973 oil crisis. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, led by Arab countries, imposed an oil embargo on the U.S. after accusing Washington of supplying weapons to Israel in the war that ended